guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Race, Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. In the last episode, we continued on cross-examining Miss Melissa Foster, who actually, yes, turned out to be Dahlia Hawthorne, as we have suspected. And now we're going to hear about what happened 5 years ago with the whole kidnapping and, yeah. Let's get going.
5 years ago, I was kidnapping Mr. Falls. The ransom price was a raw diamond. My sister, Valerie, brought it to the bridge. After she made the exchange, she shot Mr. Falls in the arm. That's when Mr. Falls tried to kill me by shoving me off the bridge from behind. I survived, but I was afraid I might be kidnapped again for my family's money, so I decided to change my identity and start a new life.
The kidnapping left her emotionally scarred. With her sister's help, she left the Hawthorne family and started all over again. And we're to believe after all that she murdered her sister? Preposterous. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Miss Fay? Yes, Your Honor? As you've heard, the witness is still traumatized from the kidnapping. I'll ask you again to be extremely gentle in your cross-examination.
Mr. Edgeworth got the jump on me again.
Ha! If we're not allowed to fight, then let's twist some arms. Listen up. We still got that info, that ace up our sleeve.
What info?
Come on, kitten. Don't say you've forgotten already. The fact that the kidnapping 5 years ago was staged.
That's right. It was a fake kidnapping. Terry Falls told us that in the lobby.
I'd do anything she says. Anything Dahlia says.
What you're saying is that the kidnapping 5 years ago was planned by...
Yeah, me and Dahlia. And Valerie, too.
Yes, that's it. The fake kidnapping is your best shot, Mia. That's her secret. "5 years ago, I was kidnapped by Mr. Falls. The ransom price was a raw diamond. My sister Valerie brought it to the bridge. After she made the exchange, she shot Mr. Falls in the arm. That's when Mr. Falls tried to kill me by shoving me off the bridge from behind. I survived, but I was afraid I might be kidnapped again for my family's money, so I decided to change my identity and start a new life." Did you and Mr. Falls have a relationship? Yes, as a tutor.
You were tutoring him, Mr. Falls?
No, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Mr. Falls came to the house to tutor me.
That makes sense. 5 years ago, she was only 14. He probably came up with the kidnapping plan during that time. The Hawthornes are in the jewelry trade and are quite wealthy, you see. Quite the clever fellow, that Mr. Falls.
Did I hear him right? Did he just call Mr. Falls a clever fellow?
I heard the diamond is valued in the neighborhood of $2 million.
$2 million? It was still uncut, so it was about the size of a pint of milk.
A $2 million pint of milk? I don't know what to think about that. The defendant demanded that her sister, Valerie, make the exchange. Not as a detective, of course, but as an individual.
By the way, I want to ask you, Mr. Edgeworth, why do you think he wanted to make the exchange up there on that mountain? If he ever got surrounded, it would be hard to escape.
There's one thing a kidnapper wants to prevent, and that's police involvement. In a place like that, it would be easy to tell if he was being followed. With only one entrance to the mountain, he was ensuring his safety.
What a wickedly clever man that Mr. Falls is.
Yeah, right. It was all your plan.
Anyway, Valerie brought the diamond to the mountain and...
That was a dangerous thing to do, considering you were being held hostage.
Yes, but actually that saved my life.
What do you mean?
You see, Mr. Falls was holding a knife in his right hand. Somehow, I just knew he was going to use it. I knew he was going to use that knife to kill me. That's why my sister shot him. It was to save me.
You say that Mr. Falls pushed you into the Eagle River. However, that's hard to believe.
But it's true. I felt a push on my back. I'm certain of it. It was Mr. Falls. I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't clear enough. I shouldn't have said that's hard to believe. I should have said that's impossible.
Impossible?
I asked that the court recall the condition of Dusky Bridge, now and 5 years ago. That bridge hasn't changed one bit in these last 5 years. If someone had pushed you from behind as you had claimed, instead of being carried away by the river, you would have been smashed by the bedrock below, a most certain death. Do you understand now, Dahlia Hawthorne? The very notion that my client pushed you from behind is impossible.
Your Honor, this event occurred 5 years ago. Why, for all we know, the water level in the river may have been higher back then.
But it's 40 feet from the bridge to the river. A small change in the water level wouldn't have made a difference.
Ugh!
You're right! If the events occurred just as the witnesses testified, then the defendant couldn't have pushed the witness into the river. Young lady, what is the meaning of this?
You see,
Just a moment, Your Honor. It's true that the witness testified that the defendant pushed her into the river. However, she never stated that she fell from the back end of the bridge.
What do you mean?
After being shot in the arm, it's plausible that Mr. Falls panicked. Therefore, he could have unwittingly pushed her off the side of the bridge.
If that's true, she would have fallen into the river. Well, Miss Hawthorne, is Mr. Edgeworth's explanation correct?
now that you mention it, I do remember now. When I fell off the bridge, my skirt got caught on one of the bridge's side wires.
You can't be serious! Order in the court!
It seems Miss Faye's assault has finally reached its conclusion.
Not now, Mia. This is no time to retreat. Unfortunately for you, this is just the start of Miss Faye's assault.
What?
I believe your reasoning went something like this, Mr. Edgeworth. After being shot in the arm, it's plausible that Mr. Falls panicked. Therefore, he could have unwittingly pushed her off the side of the bridge. However, once again, I'm forced to say that's impossible.
Ridiculous! What's so impossible about it?
Because your flawed logic contradicts the court record. Your Honor, all of the answers are right here in this photo. Take a look at the wires supporting both sides of the bridge. They extend up to about 5 feet off the ground. It would be impossible to push someone off from there.
No!
But let's remember the size and strength of the defendant. Wires like this wouldn't be a problem for him. He could have easily picked up a 14-year-old girl and thrown her over.
So young and already so forgetful, Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Falls had been shot in the right arm. Ah! And more importantly, Valerie Hawthorne had her gun trained on him at point-blank range.
Ugh!
So, Mr. Falls throwing the witness off a bridge? That is clearly impossible.
Ah!
Order! What is the meaning of this? Dahlia Hawthorne, you jumped into the Eagle River intentionally. What is this?
Indeed, what do you mean by such a ridiculous remark?
Yes, it's ridiculous. My sister was there to help me. She had her gun and handcuffs. She could have saved me. Jumping into a raging river like that would have been suicide.
Perhaps, but still, that's exactly what you did. You were probably confident that you could handle the swift current, but even more so, the witness had a much more compelling reason for jumping into the river.
Oh, then what was it? What was so important that she'd want to jump into the river?
The witness is still alive. This fact alone explains everything. This is why she risked her life by jumping into the rapids of the Eagle River. 5 years ago, something else disappeared along with Dahlia that day. The item that Valerie brought up the mountain with her, the $2 million diamond.
Ah! No, It can't be!
Yes, Dahlia had it all planned from the very beginning. The $2 million, she was going to keep it all for herself. She forced Mr. Falls to help her fake the kidnapping. At the last minute, she betrayed him and threw herself into the river, with the ransom tucked away safely in her backpack.
Why, that's simply ridiculous!
Order! Order! Order!
Your Honor, 5 years ago, the witness was only 14 years old. Do you really think a 14-year-old is capable of such a demonic plan?
This woman is a demon. And there was one more person who helped make a demon out of her. Her sister, Valerie Hawthorne. You mean the victim was involved in the kidnapping plot as well?
But she was a detective then. You're saying she participated in her sister's kidnapping?
Precisely. I'm sure that it weighed heavily on her conscience for the past 5 years. This is the sole reason behind the victim's murder. What do you mean by that? On the day of the murder, after receiving the phone call from Mr. Falls, Valerie called her sister, Dahlia, and then she told her what she was planning to do. Planning to do?
She was going to tell the whole truth, as she wrote in her note.
That is what sealed Valerie Hawthorne's fate. That is when you hatched your demonic plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. A plan that would ensure neither of your accomplices to the kidnapping would talk. And that is why you killed your sister, Valerie Hawthorne. Who is that, laughing at a time like this?
Ah, there she is. There's the bitch.
Forgive me, it's just hilarious.
Witness? Is that you?
You amuse me, woman. Miss Mia Fey. You can certainly weave an exciting tale. Naturally, you have the evidence to back it up, don't you?
Evidence?
Evidence that I planned the kidnapping, of course. That at 14, I plotted it with Mr. Falls and my sister.
Well,
And one more thing. What happened to the $2 million diamond? If you can't provide evidence to at least show that.
Well, Miss Fey?
I don't know. What a joke. You, Miss Fey. Are you stupid or something?
How can I prove a fake kidnapping that happened 5 years ago? I don't even have decisive proof of Valerie Hawthorne's murder. Well, it seems that we've come to the end. To be honest, the witness's behavior does raise certain suspicions. However, I am forced to reject the assertions made by the defense.
Of course you are.
Is this it? Is it really over? That girl has made a fool of me and there's nothing I can do about it.
Ha! Without evidence, the trial is over? Who decided that?
Mr. Armando!
Come on now, kitten. Haven't you figured out that you can make your own rules? For example, even if there's no evidence, there's still testimony.
Testimony?
On the day in question, Dahlia Hawthorne murdered her sister, Valerie Hawthorne. She hid her body in the trunk of Mr. Falls' stolen car and then went to meet with him. Disguised as her sister, Valerie Hawthorne. That's what you think, right?
Yes, that's right.
In that case, there's only one answer, right? There is only one person left who can testify about Valerie Hawthorne's murder.
Since there's no proof, there's only one thing left to do. Who is the one person who can testify to that woman's crimes? Your Honor, the defense wishes to call a new witness. A new witness? Yes, we would like to hear the testimony of Terry Falls.
The defendant.
There's only one person that can shed any further light on the situation. Only one person that knows what Dahlia's role in the kidnapping was. Only one person that can say whether the person in the photo was Valerie Hawthorne, or whether it was in fact her younger sister Dahlia disguised as her. There's only one person who can solve this riddle once and for all, and that person is Terry Falls. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what is your take on this?
Why not? The prosecution has no objection.
Very well. Bailiff, bring the defendant to the witness stand.
This is my last chance, Mr. Falls. My last chance to establish Dahlia's guilt. You're all I have left.
Defendant, you have heard everything that's been said up to this point, yes?
I don't believe it. No way. Dahlia died 5 years ago. Valerie betrayed me.
Mr. Falls, I don't know what she said to you 5 years ago, but one thing is clear. Dahlia is very much alive, and you were used for $2 million.
That's not true.
Mr. Falls, there's only one question I want the answer to. 2 days ago on Dusky Bridge, who did you meet? Was it Valerie Hawthorne, or was it Dahlia Hawthorne?
Dahlia, did you betray me? 5 years ago she promised never ever betray each other.
Terry.
Dahlia! It's true. You are alive.
You don't trust me anymore? That makes me sad.
Tell the truth, the real truth. I believed in you.
I shouldn't need to say it. You already know. But there is one thing that I will say. My life is in your hands right now, Terry.
Dahlia.
I will allow Mr. Falls to testify once and once only. Well then, Mr. Falls, yours will be the final testimony in this trial. Witness.
Ah!
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Water! Please, water! Can't talk, need water. Ha. Oh well, I guess it'll have to be my coffee instead. At least it'll match the way he's probably feeling right now. Darker and bitterer than hell itself. Ah! That day, 4 p.m., I stopped the car. I was in front of Bridge. She wasn't there, so I waited on Bridge. I watched my car from Bridge. I never put no body in that car. Finally, one woman came. She stood out in front of me. We talked, then she left. That was Valerie. Not my Dahlia.
Mr. Falls, you're covering for her. Do you think she would do the same for you?
That's enough, Miss Fay. His last statement was a fitting way to end the final testimony of the trial.
Well then, Miss Fay, please proceed with your cross-examination.
Is this how you wanted to end, Mr. Falls? Another guilty verdict to go along with your death sentence?
There's only one person who can stop it. You, kitten. I think. That day, 4 p.m., I stopped the car. I was in front of Bridge. She wasn't there, so I waited on Bridge. I watched my car from the bridge. I never put no body in that car. You were watching the car? That bridge, other side is broken. Nobody can come from there. So, I was watching car. What else were you expecting him to do?
I suppose that's the obvious thing to do, but something's bothering me. I'm getting that feeling. A contradiction?
I wonder what's on the other side of the broken bridge anyway.
No one lives there. There's a small shrine up on the mountain, but that's it. Anyway, nobody came. No car, nothing. Okay, I think I know what it is.
So when you got to the bridge, no one had arrived, huh? So you waited on the bridge. You're sure of that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're sure, huh? Well then, I'm sure too, Mr. Falls. I'm sure that you're lying.
Huh? Oh, I would love to hear your rationale on this, Miss Fay.
You want to know who arrived at the bridge first? Just look at this photo. It's perfectly clear. Obviously, the person that came first would be the one at the end of the bridge, right?
But that's the victim at the end of the bridge.
Precisely my point. In other words, Mr. Falls, you must have arrived at the bridge after she did. Mr. Falls? Please don't get so worked up. We just want the truth.
I got there around 4 o'clock. It's true. I had somewhere to go. A special place.
Did you go to this special place before you went to the bridge?
Yeah, it's an old temple about 15 minutes from the bridge. 5 years ago, me and Dahlia, we promised each other. We swore we wouldn't betray each other. She brought a memento to represent our love.
A memento?
5 years ago, I hid it under the base of the tree there. It's a special memory for me. This is it. This is what I went to get.
This little bottle and a necklace is your memento? It's quite charming, but it looks empty. Your Honor, you heard what my client said. He arrived at the scene at 4 o'clock. But then he left his car unattended and walked away. He was gone for approximately 30 minutes. Without much time, Dahlia Hawthorne could have easily hidden the body in the trunk of his car.
No!
Indeed, there certainly was enough time for it. I still got a chance. Mr. Falls, there's no mistaking it. Huh? Mr. Falls? What did he do?
That's enough. Please.
A witness?
I promised her 5 years ago. If it ever happens that we can't trust each other no more, then we're supposed to drink bottle. No! Stop the trial! Your Honor, we need a recess! I was stupid, couldn't keep promise, so I did it. I drank this.
No! We are so close! Just a little more! I was going to prove your innocence!
No, don't want that. Don't trust self. Maybe kill again. Kill sweet Dahlia again.
Mr. Falls!
Mr. Armando, thanks for the coffee.
Mr. Falls!
Oh, shit. And so my first trial ended, suddenly and tragically. It ended with no winners, only losers. I ended up with a wound that cut so deep into my soul, I thought it'd never heal. I'm sure it was the same for the young prosecutor as well. But one person, the true criminal, Dahlia Hawthorne, she left the courtroom with a sacred smile on her demonically sweet face.
Unforgivable. That witch.
Mr. Armando,
We were so close to the truth. It was right there in front of us. You were just a little too soft, kitten.
It's my fault! It's all my fault that Mr. Falls killed himself!
Don't cry, kitten. You're gonna make my coffee all salty.
I knew it. I knew I wasn't cut out for this.
Mia. Don't you get it? You can't cry yet. The only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over.
Mr. Armando. No matter how tough the case, no matter how bitter the memories, they always fade over time. Then you file them away and eventually forget about them. One year later, in this very same courthouse, I myself got wrapped up in that case.
Only after that did Dahlia Hawthorne get put on trial for her crimes. The verdict that was ultimately handed down to her was guilty, of course. Naturally, when the verdict was read, she had a perfect, angelic smile on her face. It was finally all over. At least, that's what I thought at the time. Unfortunately, I couldn't have been more wrong. It's been 5 years, but now something has happened that's made me remember all this. And that's the end. Oops, I'm sorry, that was... I'm sorry if you heard that noise. My hand was like over my eye and it made a weird sound. I took it off. But like... Oh, God. Man. That... God. This has always been like one of the, like, the saddest cases. Because, like, man, you're so close. You are so close to getting Dahlia Hawthorne convicted, and yet she gets away anyway. And later she's convicted of her crimes, but not this one. But, yeah. And the way that they played this out, having the first case being Mia's second trial, having her already know that Dahlia Hawthorne is evil, she's a demon, but us not knowing a single thing about her, and then having this case come along and having the roles reversed, it's genius. It really is. But yeah, I guess we're gonna go on to the next case next time. Bridge to the Turnabout. My God, what a roller coaster of a case that's gonna be. Well, that's it for this episode. Roll the end card, and I'll see you next time for Bridge to the Turnabout.
Objection! You haven't hit like and subscribe yet! Hold it! You forgot to ring the bell to get notified whenever I upload! Take that! Click here to watch more of my videos! Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye!